Hello, Kemp. Um, First of all, I will approve your video response, but I think you actually attached it to the wrong video by accident. Um, so um, attach it, just attach it to the free will video, and I'll be happy to approve it. I didn't know you made videos, by the way, so I subbed to you, and I'm looking forward to your output. Uh, Okay, so in your video response, there are 3 points that I'd like to address, and I think they're the three sort of primary points. Um, First of all, you say couldn't you smuggle anything into the subjective sphere of discourse? Couldn't couldn't a theist smuggle their God into that and say that I experience God, or I have a first person relationship to God? And I'd say yeah, they definitely could, and I think that that's actually the only way theism works. Um, it's very difficult to debunk that, right? Um, and I mean, this is kind of what something like Christian existentialism tries to do. It tries to articulate faith very much from the first person perspective, and I think actually a lot of Christian discourse tries to do that. It's a discussion of um, so Chesterton in Orthodoxy tries to, rather than um, says I don't necessarily want to prove that God exists. I just want to say how I came to believe, and what I believe. And I think that there are a lot of uh, most, in fact, theological treatises that I've read proceed from something like that viewpoint. And I think that that's the most honest way to do it. Um, Second of all, to the question of uselessness, right? And I think that it's obviously very useful to understand the neurology of someone who's in love, right? Um, that that is useful and that's interesting, and I don't mean to say that it's not. What I mean to say is that if you were in love, or let's put it better, right? Did you ever see the movie The Wedding Singer, right? In The Wedding Singer, Adam Sandler's character gets his heart broken sort of right at the beginning of the movie, and what does he do to cope with that? Right? He does something that I think we've all done a version of at some point in our lives. He like gets into bed and listens to The Cure, um, and just you know hurts. um, so that uh, that move is what I'm talking about. Um, if you got your heart broken, um, are you going to find solace in in neurology textbooks, or are you going to find solace in The Cure? For me, they're one of my favorite bands, actually. So, and I definitely have done that cliche thing of having a broken heart and listening to The Cure before. Um, by the way, this is my chef cup, um, and it's my cat. Um, so that's what I mean when I say that it's useless. So the question of the ontology of the person who's looking for a box of cereal, I don't mean to say that that's not interesting. What I mean to say is that if you were out looking for cereal, is that what you're going to be thinking about? You know what I mean? It's useless to you as the decision maker. Um, That's what I'm getting at, right? I'm not saying that it's that the ontology of the world is useless. I'm saying that the ontology of decision making is useless to the decision maker in the moment that he's making the decision, right? That's my point. And if that's the case, then he's not operating under that pretext. No, he's operating as we all do. He's having the experience of making choices in the world. That's what I mean when I say that something is useless. Now for the much more difficult and esoteric point. I think that there's an almost dogmatic claim in here, or there's a certain premise which I think is almost dogmatic, which is the subjective is always based on the objective. Really? Why? Why is that the case? How do you come to that conclusion? Because the way I see it, this is what Kant calls the Copernican turn, right? He says that we've always assumed as philosophers that the mind conforms to the world, right? Which is what you would be saying. The subjective is based on the objective. The mind conforms to the world. But what if, for a moment, we assume that the world conforms to the mind, right? What if we say that the objective is based on the subjective? And then his philosophy proceeds from there, and he actually comes to a sort of exact opposite conclusion that I come to about free will. I'm much more in line with Husserl here. But how do I articulate this in the easiest way possible? If we say, it just seems to me that all knowledge that we have about the objective reality, right? All experience, or even that word assumes that there's a subject. All knowledge that we have is based on experience. This is basic empiricism. This is the grounds for the sciences. All knowledge is based on experience, which implies a subject. The subject is primary here, right? The object is not primary, is what's more important. So there can't be a subject without an object. I say that there can't be an object, or an object at least in any meaningful sense. There can't be an object that we know about, that we can talk about, that we can understand, that we can interact with, etc., etc., etc. There can't be an object in any meaningful sense without a subject to comprehend it, right? And this is my German idealism coming out. There's this tradition of philosophy from Kant to Hegel really radicalizes this, and it's not quite so simple as this, but you can almost think of Hegel's thought as saying there is nothing out there, right? But my point isn't that there is nothing out there. There is no objective reality apart from minds. My point is that there is no way to talk about. There is no way to make assertions about. There is no way to understand or interact with or do anything without a mind, right? So everything that we know about the objective is actually predicated on the subjective. Um, in other words, the ontological is based on the phenomenological. Everything that we know about, like, say, physics, required physicists to learn about, right, and to write about, and to do all these things. And this is where we get this picture of what the stars are, and how they operate. And I think you're right. It's a very beautiful picture. Um, uh, but again, my point is that, like, we wouldn't know any of that if it weren't for minds. So when you say the objective is based on the subjective, or when you say the subjective is based on the objective, I take objection to this. I think it's, if we have to privilege one of those terms over the other, I would say that the objective, everything that we know about, everything that we can articulate about the objective, etc., is all predicated on subjectivity in one way or another. So yeah, and that's a really, like, counterintuitive or difficult point, and I'm not sure that I made it convincingly. So please just let me know if I haven't. Um, um, but those are my 3 points. I think, again, the objective is actually based on the subjective and not the other way around. 2, useless. I just mean that in the sense of, it's useless information to the decision maker, or to the subject who's undergoing such an experience. And the third point is yeah, that can become the basis for a kind of theism, and I think it has. I think that's been iterated in the more intelligent forms of Christianity before. So yeah. Make a video response and attach, again, reattach that video, because you attached it to, which one did you attach it to? Hold on. Well, my computer's going slow, so maybe I can't do it. But you attached it to the wrong video. So yeah, looking forward to your response, and feel free to tell me all the reasons that I'm wrong. Have a good day.